Gerald Calente is one of my very favorite guests. He wears a hat sometimes. I don't know if he does this evening, but he's funny and perspicacious at exactly the same time. He's the publisher of Trends Journal and founder of the Trends Research Institute. If you're not following Trends Journal, then you're a fool, because Gerald predicts, he doesn't track, he predicts what's coming next with unerring accuracy. Gerald, welcome back to the mother of all talk shows. Very good to see you again. Not wearing your hat, but of fond memory. Gerald, what do you think of my thesis that actually the world will be at war by the weekend? How are you feeling about that?
Well, the world's at war already. World War III began. It was a cover of our Trends Journal magazine on February 22nd, 2022. From COVID war to Ukraine war to World War. And it's only escalating now with the Israel war. And I was listening to you before we went on the air, and you nailed it perfectly. And by the way, I also want to congratulate you for all that you do as a real man, standing up and fighting and being in the British Parliament now and speaking the truth.
Thank you.
And as you were saying, when you said what was going on in Israel and giving them the history of it, you said it was like talking to little kids. And that's where we're at now. And you talked about Iran. This is one of my books called Trend Tracking, far better than Megatrends Time magazine. 1989, I wrote this book. I write how I became a trend forecaster. And I became a political atheist when, and it's right here, the fall of the Shah. I was the chief government affairs specialist for the chemical industry. Number 2 guy running a major trade association. Back then, all I wanted to do was make money and have a good time. I was killing environmental legislation at the height of the environmental movement. And I'm living between DC and Chicago. And the Iranian conflict starts heating up. And Jimmy Carter, the little peanut farmer with a pair of cojones about the size of a peanut, he goes over there to visit the Shah on New Year's Eve with the Shah and his wife. I write about this in detail. He came back and he said that the Shah is the island of stability in the Middle East. In the Bronx, we used to say bullshit has its own sound. I'm seeing millions of people taking to the streets. The average person, like the little dopes you speak to in Parliament, these little boys and gutless girls, they had no idea of the United States, and as you were talking about, the UK overthrow of the democratically elected government of Mossadegh in 1953, because that lousy Iranian president had the nerve to say, no, this oil doesn't belong to Anglo-Iranian oil or Standard Oil. Oh, better known today as BP and, it's ExxonMobil back then, Standard Oil today. It belongs to the Iranian people. No, it doesn't. And all the data came out. It only took until 2017 for the crap that spewed out of that little Churchill's mouth, the MI6, him, and the CIA that was also headed by Kermit Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt's grandson, to overthrow Mossadegh. So when the people are taking to the streets, I said, no, this thing is for real. And that's how I became a trend forecaster. I became a political atheist, and I stopped believing the BS in the mainstream media, and I started investing in gold and oil. That's when I became a trend forecaster. I said, what will the implications be? And gold and oil, a $10,000 bet, I made almost $750,000. And I quit my job and I became a trend forecaster. I lost a lot of the dough. I was, gambling away. But now what's going on is the same thing. All they're doing is teaching us how to hate Iran. You're seeing all the sanctions, the crap, the puke coming out of the mouth of the politicians. We're condemning Iran for attacking Israel. Hey, wait a minute. Israel could attack Iran anytime they want. They could attack a consulate that's against international law, even in a time of war. They could kill any commander. They could kill anybody they want anywhere. That's right. We're the chosen people. Oh, it says so right in the Torah, chapter 6, section 8. You're making up this crap. Now they're putting sanctions on Iran. This thing is heating up. Israel is going to strike back. When they do, World War III is going to continue to escalate. If we don't have peace on earth, we are going to be annihilated in nuclear war. Oh, don't believe me? Look up the Samson option. Oh, yeah, in Israel, Samson option, if we lose, we go nuclear. And we only have about between 200 and 400 nuclear warheads. Oh, you have nuclear warheads? That's right. But Iran's not allowed to have them. We're the chosen people. This is serious.
It's deadly serious, Gerald. And sometimes I think there's only thee and me can see it. I've been following your coverage online, and I'm a big supporter of your journal. And I'm just wondering how it is that the United States, I mean, I'll come to the UK in a minute, but how did the United States walk quietly into a situation where virtually every politician is literally bought and paid for by the supporters of Israel? And I'm talking people who wouldn't be a legend in their own street. I'm talking people whose faces I've never seen, whose names I've never heard. They're the congresswoman or man from this or that, and they're receiving hundreds of thousands of dollars from a foreign country, which doesn't even have to register as a foreign agent, such that your country is no longer in control of its own destiny. How does Joe Biden tell Netanyahu to go and get lost when Israel gave him $11.1 million? How?
He doesn't. Again, the whole thing is bought off, and you're making it perfectly clear that nobody knows about AIPAC, foreign establishment, and they're doing anything that they want. They're buying off everybody. America, this is the country that kills people all over the world in the name of freedom and democracy. To run for office in America, you got to have a lot of money behind you. By the way, I began my career running political campaigns in Westchester County, the richest county in America. I was the assistant to the Secretary of the New York State Senate, designed and instructed American politics and campaign technology, how to run campaigns, taught it at St. John's University. What people call a government is nothing more than a crime syndicate. And I also, by the way, I watched your podcast with your show with Scott Ritter on following Iran's attack. All of the media in America and all of the little imbeciles that follow the mainstream media believe that Israel was victorious in stopping Iran when they attacked, knowing nothing of the facts. Everybody should listen to that podcast that you did with Scott Ritter and how you introduced him and who he is. And he's a friend of mine. We go out to dinner. He's talking at my peace rallies up here. I launched Occupy Peace over a decade ago. He gives the details, but here was the headlines that the people swallow. Iran has launched dozens of drones at Israel. IDF says it aims to intercept them in hours. And then they said 99% of them were destroyed. And again, have no details about the facts of this. So everybody, please watch that video. Scott Ritter makes it clear of the true danger Israel is in. And also, Mr. Galloway, you were talking about how they created, when I heard some of it before I came on the air, about how they invented the state of Israel. This is your Trends Journal when it used to be a quarterly, 2006, Crusades 2000. Regardless of what England's reasons or intentions were, self-serving or otherwise, Crusades 2000 was set in motion by the 1917 Balfour Declaration. Oh, what's a Balfour Declaration? Well, we don't know anything, but a Balfour Declaration that laid the foundation for Israel, quote, His Majesty's government, His Majesty's government, these murderous bastards over there where the sun never sets on the British Empire, we are slaughtering people all over the world. Oh, that's right, His Majesty's government. His Majesty's government views with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. Who the hell is he to say that they should establish a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine? Oh, the Rothschilds. Look it up. It's a fact. It goes on. And we will use our best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this objective. Totally invented. Totally invented. Have no right being there. Oh, and they just stole about another 7,000 acres of Palestinian land in the West Bank that they call settlements in violation of the Geneva Convention and Article 242 of the United Nations. This is serious what's going on. This is a demonic government in charge,
very
slaughtering
serious.
innocent people.
Yeah, slaughtering 72% of the people who've been slaughtered were women and children. Ipso facto, by definition, not Hamas. The idea that these women and children were legitimate targets would not be accepted in any other theater of conflict. It would not be accepted as legitimate behavior by any other government anywhere in the world, including your government, including my government. But it is somehow acceptable for Israel to do it. And when they can no longer defend it, they simply begin not to report it. So 11 children were killed yesterday in a playground in the Benghazi refugee camp in Gaza. 11 children. Not one single British newspaper or British media outfit even reported that it happened. Talk about exceptionalism, Gerald.
Actually, at least, yep. And matter of fact, you know who did report it in the United States was the Cartoon News Network, CNN. And it said at least 13 people were killed, including several children, and more than 25 injured after a strike targeted the Al-Maghazi refugee camp. And they show the graphics, the videos, and this is the nice language. You ready? Dozens of people appear to be running around in panic. They had the video, screaming and trying to count and carry the dead bodies. It shows several casualties scattered on the floor, including children with blood streaming across the floor. Kids screaming, people screaming, kids dead on the ground. They were just playing football and they were martyred. This guy's, again, right in front of everybody's eyes. Like you said, could you imagine if it was the Jewish people in Gaza and the Palestinians were bombing them to death like this? Oh my God, how terrible. The hypocrisy.
It's
Again,
very
going back
difficult
to
to bear. It's very difficult to remain unemotional about it. But let me try and segue before I start crying. You are a political atheist, and your attitude is, a plague on both, on all of their houses, and that's no wonder when we see the character of the people that are running for office. But because you are the most perspicacious man in America, help our international audience with your reading so far on how the American presidential election is going.
It's a guessing game. We had the Trends Journal magazine, and by the way, anybody could get the Trends Journal magazine by going to trendsjournal.com, and you get 10% off. Hit MOATS, they'll put up the link to put on, and it's only $2.50 a week. It's nothing. And this week's is almost 200 pages, and you can listen to it. It's a magazine. You read what you want. But going back to the presidential election, we called Trump a winner in May of 2016 when we said that We were the only ones saying it. All the polls showed he would lose. Right now, it's a total guessing game. And again, I've been at this, I said, a lot of years. I used to run political campaigns, taught at St. John's University, on and on. One of my lines is, when all else fails, they take you to war. When you go to war, people have they back the president that's in power. If you need any more proof, let's go back to the dot-com bust. Again, we had forecasted in your Trends Journal, dot-com this, fall of 1999. We said it was going to bust by the second quarter of 2000. It did in March. America's in a deep recession. They couldn't stand little Georgie Bush. What happens? 9/11. War on terror. We're going to get that guy Osama bin Laden, dead or alive. A little boy of nothing with a pair of cojones smaller than a mothball, a little ignorant little jerk of a nothing, a daddy's boy. 88% of the people swallow the crap spewing out of his mouth. When all else fails, they take you to war. Nobody could predict what's going to go on with this presidential reality show. That's all it is. And also, as people are watching, again, one of my lines is GC's 3Gs, guns, gold, and a getaway plan. You better prepare for the worst. One of our top trends for 2024, it's right there for anybody to see, January 2nd, 2024, a golden year for gold. Gold prices are up now over $300 an ounce since we said that. The reason gold is going up, there are basic reasons. One, in the run-up to the presidential reality show, they're going to lower interest rates to keep the power in the United States. Miss Facha Brut, the ugly face, Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, her former job was the head of the Federal Reserve, shows you who's running the country. She's the Treasury Secretary. They want to keep her in there. They're going to lower interest rates. The lower interest rates go, the deeper the dollar falls, and it's going to be the beginning of the death of the dollar, the higher gold prices go. Number two, oil prices, which are going to bring inflation in very heavily if and when, not if, when the Israel war and Iran war escalate. You're going to see oil prices hit around $130 a barrel. That's going to crash the global economy and the equity markets. Number three is they're going to do everything they can to come out with a digital currency. And when they do that, gold prices are going to go up too. That's another one that's pushing them up. So you got the inflation, you got gold, and you got the war. The war is going to keep heating up, and that's going to really bring up gold prices. Gold prices, as we're speaking now, are about $2,375 an ounce. It was up as almost $3,240 an ounce today. It backed off. We can see gold hitting around $3,000 an ounce this year. This is serious. The reason, again, other reason they're buying it, you go to China. The China economy, when they locked the place down for 3 years, it destroyed the lives and livelihoods of hundreds of millions of people. The place was overbuilt after they brought him into the World Trade Organization in 2001. Bill Clinton did. And they skyrocketed their GDP. It got overbuilt. They made a bad situation worse with 3 years of COVID lockdown. So what's going on? The real estate sector in China accounts for nearly 30% of the gross domestic product. And the real estate sector is crashing. What also is going to bring gold prices up that no one's talking about, that's one of our top trends of 2024, is banks go bust. When they lock down everything and force people to stay at home, and you're in the UK and listening to great over there, and that was a Canary Wharf, or what do they call it, where all the HSBC one after another are leaving. The office vacancy rate in New York City is 23%. San Francisco, 30%. Portland, Oregon, 29%. On average, over 20%. Office vacancy rate, nobody there, around 50%. There's going to be huge defaults on these trillions. It's almost $2 trillion worth of commercial real estate. You're going to see massive defaults. They're not talking about this at all. That's going to crash the banking system. That's why gold prices are going to go up also. But again, when all else fails, they take you to war.
Well, I'd be rushing off to buy some gold, A, if I had the money to buy it, and B, if I thought you could take it with you. But as none of this might matter in the end, all I can say is everyone watching this should get on to the trend. They should get on. We'll put it up, Trends Journal. We'll put up the link. Everybody should get on it. It's actually the best predictor for all matters economic and political that I have ever seen. Gerald, many thanks for joining us and for imparting your words of wisdom.